Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and the Nets, they get swept by the Boston Celtics. And they seem to be okay with it. Kevin Durant says they have no regrets. They did not seem like it bothered them. Kyrie Irving felt the same. Steve Nash felt the same. The whole organization team felt the same. So is this the worst duo in NBA history? Should they have cared more? And if they didn't care, why not? Are they not? Is Kevin Durant no longer considered the GOAT conversation if he ever was? We're going to talk about all that today on the Coach Steve Show podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. Thank you for joining me, tuning in, watching the video, or listening to wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching the video version, please hit that subscribe button and the like button. It helps get the video out there, helps out the algorithm, of course, which I don't understand, but it just helps. Appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you're listening to the podcast in audio form, please hit the rating on it that you can do on Apple, and it's a brand new thing on Spotify. So go do all that for me, please, and thank you. It really does help the show. Just take a minute out of your day to do that. Maybe it takes less. This podcast is brought to you by the Belly Up Media Network. If you go to bellyupsports.com, check out all the podcasts and blogs and just media for everybody out there outside of sports and everything. This podcast is about sports, but there's other things on this podcast. Also, check out the Coach Steve Show on patreon.com. So patreon.com, the Coach Steve Show. If you want bonus episodes, want to be put into merch giveaways, shout outs, be a part of Q&As. Maybe when we start to grow it, to get some guests, and you guys could hop in on the guests and ask them live questions. So patreon.com, the Coach Steve Show, to help support the show. There's different tiers, $1, $5, and $10. Please sign up to support the show to get bonus episodes. That's kind of format we're going to go to if you like the show. So appreciate that. The podcast is brought to you by Coach Stone Football and is back to the basics, books, and drills. You football coaches, it is almost football season. Yes, we're in track season, baseball season, but football's almost here. Hopefully you got your drills down. If you're still looking for drills, to get back to the basics, Coach Stone does it for you. His Back to the Basics drill manuals. You will never have to look up another drill again, I promise you. So go to CoachStoneFootball.com, click on Back to the Basics. Thank you, Coach Stone, for sponsoring the podcast. NBA playoffs are underway, and we don't talk much playoff stuff on here because the NBA is soft. The NBA is not as entertaining as it was. Yes, there's athletes and all that good stuff. The NBA is just not as entertaining as it used to be. When Kobe Bryant was getting close and retired, I was done. I keep tabs on the Bulls. The Bulls are a fun team to watch. They're young. They are so close to being something really special. What they did this year, with the players they have, I follow it because of Ayo Dosunmu from Illinois, so I keep tabs on the Bulls. Not saying I don't pay attention to NBA at all. It's just not a vocal point. I'd rather watch college football, NFL, college basketball. Sometimes I want to watch Major League Baseball at times, but NBA is just not something that's going to tickle my fancy because we got too many people in the NBA that complain. LeBron is still playing, of course, so we can't be a part of that. And it's just people that complain too much. People that it's soft. It's not what it used to be. I can't handle the reffing. I'm not saying that 100% needs to go back to the 90s and the 80s and early 2000s. But just a lot of it has built up. And so I keep tabs on it. I have conversations. And one of them that happened is the Brooklyn Nets got swept by the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics are a good team. Sometimes a good team is what wins basketball games. Now, when you have enough people on your team that are superstars or all-stars, you're going to win games. Like when in Boston Celtics years ago, they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. Then you had Big Baby Davis, House, and a bunch of other people on there. You have a team, but you have enough Hall of Fame superstar talent. When you look at the Lakers, when you had Kobe and Shaq, you had that duo. You had LeBron and Wade and Bosh and Birdman and Chalmers. House went there, and then Ray Allen up coming there, and Udonis Haslem with his leadership and everything else. So when you have that type of stuff, you will win. But this Boston Celtics team is a good team. But I don't think anybody would think that they would sweep the Brooklyn Nets with the legendary Steve Nash as head coach, which we'll get to his head coaching status, and Kevin Durant, who people claim to be, some claim for him to be the best player of all time. Some claim that he can't be better than Jordan. Now, it's not a huge conversation piece, but I've seen it. But people also say that he is better than LeBron James. And this is going to be a shocker to any loyal fans that listen to this. I have told people there are two things Kevin Durant is better at than LeBron: free throws and shooting. Okay. As if we look at talent. But there is that also a part of me that says LeBron is better than Kevin Durant. When the Heat made the finals and they were playing Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and James Harden in the finals, I said the Heat are going to win. They're going to win because that LeBron James is going to bully Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant, at a point in his career, there was a point in time where I think he was better than LeBron James. But I will take LeBron James over Kevin Durant, believe it or not, more often than not. So people are like, oh my God, I just will. Not saying Kevin Durant is not a Hall of Famer. Not saying Kevin Durant is not a good player. He's really, really, really good. Kyrie Irving, we saw what he could do when he was playing with LeBron, scores 50 points in a playoff game to help LeBron get his, championship to Cleveland. His ball handling skills, the competitiveness, we've seen that. But their careers have gone in a direction I don't think some of us saw. So it's a shame that Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, could not win a championship in Oklahoma. It's just a travesty to see that type of talent. They couldn't win a championship. Now, I give LeBron a lot of, flack for going to the Heat, saying, not one, not two, not three, joining, Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and everything else. Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, I would call almost worse than what LeBron did. Now, the Warriors are not Dwayne Wade, and they're not Chris Bosh, but they were a team. Steph Curry, the way he could shoot through his Klay Thompson and Green and Iguodala. Him joining that, I think, was a weak move because LeBron really wanted a championship. And so the only difference was, I will say this, LeBron going to the Heat, Dwayne Wade was already on the Heat. That is Dwayne Wade's team before LeBron got there. But the team that he was joining, which they did a lot of pieces, they changed a lot of pieces to make it a little bit better. It wasn't Kevin Durant joining a finals-bound Warriors team that won 73 games. You know what I mean? So what Kevin Durant did was, to me, a weak move. Goes there, wins some championships. I will say this. I don't think LeBron has the same competitiveness as Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. I just don't think he does. But I will go as far to say Kevin Durant doesn't have more competitiveness than LeBron James. Because I will say this. LeBron won his title, but he wanted to win more. I will say that. He wanted to win more. Now, he has done things outside of which we've talked about, which we won't get into because this is about Kevin Durant, the Nets, and Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant was satisfied, it seemed. Got his championship, got another one. He seemed very content after that. Like, I'm done. Now, he goes to the Nets and joins Kyrie Irving, and moves have been made, and this is supposed to be his team. Then he hurts his Achilles, and he's out for a long time. And I don't think he's quite been the same since that. But also the times you've seen him play this year and in the playoffs, like if you're that good, you don't get swept. And you're people say you're one of the best basketball players ever, and some are putting him as the best basketball player in the NBA today. And when you have that, you have to play as such. You have to act as such. And then you have Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving's, he from Cleveland to the Celtics, to the Nets, he has been a roller coaster. Being political, this political stuff that happened around the vaccine and the booster. He didn't want to take it. He couldn't play in New York. He couldn't play on a lot of games with the Nets because of, restrictions, because he didn't have it. And even before that, him taking time off, people didn't know where he was. Oh, I had mental, I'm not criticizing any mental health issues, because just because athletes have money, just because people have money doesn't mean they don't have mental health issues. So whatever he needed, yes, but to disappear and not talk to anybody and all that stuff. So Kyrie Irving's career since winning that championship with Cleveland has just kind of been this roller coaster. And then something about, he's not going to play for a quarter a game, load management type stuff. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all of them are just like, oh my God, what is that? LeBron is load managed. I think Kevin Durant has, but it's not talked about as much. James Harden, and a bunch of others, and Kyrie Irving does. It's well known. This duo was supposed to be similar-ish. People talked, it's hard to compare it, but they were trying to put it up there with, Kobe and Shaq and everything else. Well, that's just disrespectful to Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal. Like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving couldn't hold their gym shoes. They couldn't hold their jock straps. And even though they were a lower seed, this was a very talented team outside of those two. It was a very talented team. And then you have Steve Nash, who is also the head coach. Now, Steve Nash should not have been the head coach. I really hate when just because they played in the NBA is like they can coach. Like they can automatically be a head coach. And I'm not saying he can't, but it's easy to be a head coach. You've got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I feel like you need to coach first. Just because you played, yes, you have insight to things. Yes, you can help them with technical things and what you see and different stuff. But you really know how to coach. So I hate that. I hate when a former player is automatically moved to head coach. Now, I'm not mad when they hire former players to be assistant coaches, one of their top guys with them. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like you need to coach. People always, well, Kobe had Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Do people realize that he coached? He coached in different countries. He was coaching, as an assistant coach to realize how to become a head coach. So I'm tired of people saying because he had to work his way up to do that. If they had Phil Jackson right at the beginning of his career, that it wouldn't have happened. So Steve Nash being the head coach should not allow you to get swept, but I don't think he should be a head coach either. And I think it's proving itself that, yes, he can help with technical things with basketball because he's one of the best point guards we've ever seen. He's really smart. His vision's really smart. He could help, apparently he helped Kevin Durant shooting or Steph Curry shooting, and that's kind of how he got it. I don't know. Maybe he was assistant coach longer than I thought, or he was just kind of the shooting coach, whatever. I just feel like you need to be an assistant coach. So they get swept, and they're kind of nonchalant about it. And I think this is kind of putting the nail in the coffin of, I don't even think you can put Kevin Durant up to LeBron James. I don't think you can put Kyrie up there either. As good as they are, I don't know if Kyrie Irving will go into the Hall of Fame, but Kevin Durant will. You cannot put them even in. You can't put Kevin Durant in the top 10, in my opinion. Maybe top 15, but I don't even know of that because they were just kind of nonchalant about it. Regardless of how you take the quotes they said, you have to watch them say it. And just didn't. Like Kevin Durant, reading this article, he's not crying over it, though. He's simply moving on as he looks forward to next season. Like, he seemed disappointed, but not. He said, no regrets, shit happens, no crying over spilled milk. Once we finally got together and we had a mission and wanted to make the playoffs and see what kind of noise we could make, we didn't make any noise, but we got to the playoffs. They were expected to make a run for the title. So them losing apparently is a disappointment to everybody, but it doesn't seem like it was to him. Kyrie Irving tweeted out, we didn't get the result we wanted, but I want to congratulate my brothers in that Celtics locker room. They earned the series win, and I wish them as they advance. Blah, blah, blah. So they just kind of, Kevin Durant is like, no regrets. We wanted to make some noise, but whatever. And just the way he said it, he just seemed very disinterested. And it seems like he's content. Like, I've got titles, I've got all that. I've won this, I've won that. Seems very nonchalant. Kyrie Irving took it a step further. Now, Kyrie, I did a thing where he was doing the double finger behind and flipped a guy off. And I did a whole thing on the fans. But I want to just kind of keep go forward with, as a player, if you're backing it up with the play, it is what it is. But at the same time, when you start doing that, yeah, you might do good that one time, but then it's going to creep into your mind. And depending on the type of player you are, you're going to allow that to sink in and you're not going to be focused. Kobe and Michael were very good at, if a fan did that, they weren't giving them reaction, they used it as fuel. When you allow another team, a fan, to say things to you and then you act back, even if you score 50 points that game, you are allowing them into your mind. So then it's going to continue to happen to you. And that's why NBA players today are soft. Kobe would do the ear thing at the end because he's like, I can't hear you. I'm using it as fuel. Michael Jordan creates stuff up. And they would just use it as fuel. But this team allowed political things to seep in because of the Kyrie Irving stuff and how people felt. And I don't think Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant work anyway, but I do think that Kyrie Irving has other things on his mind. He wants to load manage. He wants to do a LeBron thing and make statements that aren't right, and more worried about that and not worried about playing. And what it comes down to that people don't want to hear all the time is they are playing basketball, which is a game, but it's their job. And when you're at your job, think about it. None of us, maybe, I don't know. We're not professionals. Like, I'm not a professional NFL player. I'm not a professional basketball player. I'm not a professional baseball player. So when you're at your job and you allow other things into your mind and you're not focused on your job, the productivity of your job is going to suffer. If I don't focus, if we're talking about coaching football, if I am not 100% focused on getting better, and during the game, I'm not focused on that, I'm worried about the other things, it's going to suffer, especially if you're a play caller or anything else. Basketball coach, same thing. If you're worried about other things, it's gonna ruin it. If you're a teacher and you allow things that maybe in that moment to help those kids seep into your mind, you're not going to do the job right. So when Kevin or Kyrie Irving is more worried about other things, it's not going to go well. He's still good, but he's not going to win championships. He's going to get swept in the playoffs. Kevin Durant, I don't think he's been the same since his Achilles, but there just doesn't seem to have that killer instinct that he had before the Warriors and when he got to the Warriors, but when he left, it's not there. It's not there. He does seem very content. And so I'm not saying he's not competitive, but you cannot be considered one of the greatest basketball players, quote unquote, of all time and not be competitive. I don't care what people say. I'll even go as far as this. Now, LeBron has lost a lot of finals games. But I guarantee you, if he had like Kyrie Irving with him, I bet you LeBron doesn't get swept. Kobe doesn't get swept. Michael Jordan ain't going to get swept. Are you kidding me? Like, with if you're that talented, like, are you kidding me? those three would have found a way to win a game. And yes, I'm not a LeBron fan. We all know this. I am saying LeBron James would have not gotten swept and found a way to win. So Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are too worried about other things. They've got what they need. They make the money. And I know money doesn't always mean happiness. But when you're getting paid that much money, here's the NBA's got to change something. If you sit out a quarter, I know the pay's hard when you sit out, because why did you sit out? Where there's a foul trouble? Was it the coach's decision? I feel like when you don't play a game and you're not injured, you don't get paid. Or they need to give the NBA players, like everybody else in the world, you get personal days and you get sick time, and then maybe you get paid. But you get paid millions upon millions of dollars. And maybe it's not fair, but I feel like when you get paid millions upon millions of dollars, there's extra pressure to that. There's different rules. There's different standards. There's a difference between someone making $10 million a year, if not more, whatever it is, someone making 40 grand or 50 grand a year. There's a big difference. They deserve those sick times and everything else. And once they use them up and they don't show up to work, they don't get paid. Some work by the hour and they still make the 30, 40, 50 grand, but they don't get sick time. There's that happens. So when these NBA players load manage, maybe the NBA needs to give them sick time. All right, you get so many sick times because of percentage of the NBA games we have. Unless you're injured. If the trainer, medical professional says they are injured, then they can sit out. But Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving should not get swept. Their team was decent. They had other good players. But with that talent, they should not get swept. They should win a game. But they also didn't get time to mesh it up because of political things where Kyrie Irving couldn't play because of restrictions and everything else. So that had a role to play with it. But at the same time, you're talented enough to win a game. You shouldn't get swept. I'm not saying they win the series. I'm not saying that they get to the finals, even though a lot of people thought that. And then Kyrie Irving wants to talk about how the media is racist. Now he doesn't have to deal with racist media that he has dealt with all year. And I don't know every report because I just don't care. But I will say this. When you lose and you get swept, don't churn the blame where it doesn't make sense. That separates Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and some of these greats away. And I'm not going to put LeBron on this, but it definitely gives them a huge step above Kyrie Irving's and Kevin Durant's. I don't even think Kevin Durant's in the top 10. This just separates it. You should never get swept. You should at least win a game. And I think Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, especially Kevin Durant's competitiveness, is done. I think he's not as competitive anymore. He can win a bunch of regular season games. I just think his competitiveness is done. Like he just doesn't care as much. He's done. He's got his. He's done. So they should never get swept. He's not in the top 10. And then that's it. That's it. And I think they're going to split up. I think one of them is going to leave and go somewhere else. Where they go, no idea. Do I really care? It's interesting to see. I don't know if they're going to say Kevin Durant's got to stay, Kyrie Irving, you got to go. You've caused too much trouble than you're worth. Or are they going to look at Kevin Durant and say, you know what? Maybe he's on the decline. It's not there. Can we get something for him? So going to be interesting to see. But a lot of people picked to go to the finals. They did not. Kevin Durant, sorry, you're not a top 10. Kyrie Irving, you're not a Hall of Famer. Sorry about it. Two other things going on. Worry about your job and what you get paid millions of dollars to do. That wraps up this episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Please hit the like button, subscribe button. Please follow it, rate it, give a review on Apple, be a friend, tell a friend. Check out the Patreon Coach Steve Show, patreon.com want bonus episodes. That's the kind of format we want to go to is bonus episodes. $1, $5, $10. You can give them merch giveaways, Q&As, be a part of guests once we get to that point. Go check that out. Go check out all the affiliates in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And like the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, we are sweeping out of here.